And we are here coming to you live from the cast party from Theater Under the Stars' all-new production of Dreamgirls. And we are thrilled to have two very important people in it. I was going to say cast members, but they're not cast members. One is in the cast. He plays a rather roguish gentleman, to put it that way. And we also have the director of the show. So with us we have, Walt, I'll let you do the honors.
Sheldon Epps, the director. Here, put on your name tag.
All right.
And Thomas Hobson played Curtis. You get a name tag too.
So now remember, we're going to be taking your questions. Walt's going to be monitoring that. So as your questions come in, we'll ask the questions of our friends here. So I'm going to start with you, Sheldon. As I have said before, I saw this show in its original production back in 1982.
82, I think.
Back on Broadway.
Right.
And so my question for you is, have you loved this show since then and wanted to put it back on stage?
I did love it since then, yes, actually. I tell the story. It's a show that I used to sneak into the second act of frequently because I couldn't afford to go. But I loved it so much that I used to sneak into the second act, and I think I saw the second act about 18 times. Something. So it's a thrill to be here and to do it for Tuts.
I do have to interrupt for a moment. We've had an addition jump in here. Walt, who's joining us?
E. Clayton Cornelius. Here is your...
The wonderful
James Thunder Early.
Great opening. Wonderful.
Who is also... We're very fortunate because in a cast of wonderful people, we have two of the standout performers here with us.
I absolutely agree.
I'm going to ask you how you picked these two for those characters, because I understand this is his first kind of roguish performance.
That is
yes, but it's not the first time he's been roguish.
That is
also
also
it's not the
very
first time
true.
he's been wild. So it's a director's job to know what's underneath. And I knew that about both of them.
So do you go by Clayton or Clay or E or...
E. Clayton is good.
E. Clayton. Tell me, where do you find this character within you? Because you are the guy, kind of a James Brownish type character. He's really part of the R&B, but he's brought over to the pop side, but really can't escape where he's really coming from.
Right. Well, it's the first time I've ever done the show, and
Would you your mic right up close?
First time I've ever done the show, and I don't think that I really possess a James Brown type of thing, but I have a wild spirit. So everyone always says I look like Eddie Murphy or I remind them of. So I think knowing that and taking my wild spirit and putting it into the script, it kind of works, I guess, right? I guess, you know.
Was this the first show where you've ever had to drop your pants?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thomas, first show where, well, you don't drop your pants, but have there been shows where you have?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know if I got paid for them, but probably.
So where do you find your character? You're kind of the Barry Gordy of the group, if I can tie them into real people, but it's totally fictional.
It's totally fictional.
Totally fictional.
Yeah. No, Sheldon and I had some great conversations at the beginning of rehearsal about the fact that Curtis doesn't think he's bad. That Curtis is just, he has a vision, and there are casualties to that vision, but I don't think until, I think when Dina leaves him is the first time when he thinks about the results of his drive.
Yeah.
That, everything else is already gone. Once it's happened, it's gone because we had to get there. Right. And it's great because, we always say as actors, when you're playing someone, whether you're playing, Jesus or, they always say Hitler, but you've got to figure out for yourself how to be that person and not judge that person. And I feel like we had a great discussion about thinking about him as being a tragic hero, that he is really driven, and because of him all these really wonderful things happen, but because of him a lot of bad things happen.
Right.
So I said I just think he's a really good guy who's just misunderstood now. That's kind of how
we talked at an early preview that I had seen when we were chatting a little bit about that, and you kind of mentioned that to me, and then when I watched the show I was watching for that and seeing what's really motivating him, what's making him, and I saw the kinder side, or not kinder, but the understanding side to him, why he was doing what he was doing. And if you see it from his point of view, it makes sense. He's trying to be successful in a business that's always kept him pushed out of. And so I thought that was a really nicely done.
Yeah, so with this, Zanya, who plays Effie, she and I discussed, in It's All Over, Into and I'm Telling You, it's not about, he doesn't leave her there because he's a mean guy with no heart. He leaves her there because he's so convinced this is right but she can get to him. And if he stays, the whole thing falls. Like, so just different ways of thinking about it that just make him. One of my friends said, "Whatever you do, remember he's not mean." And that's kind of been the thing that I brought here with me and tried to remember that, like, he's never motivated by malice. It's always out of the drive to be better.
Yeah.
And that he's harder on himself than he is on anyone else. That, like, the same regimen he throws on other people, he lives by.
We're going to check in with Walt and see how are things going on social media.
Everything's great. No questions.
No questions. Don't you folks have questions? See, this is the whole point of Ernie Live is we're taking you places you can't get to. So through this, you're here. So now ask the questions you want to know. Because I've got one right now for Sheldon, and Walt wants something to do. Okay, Sheldon.
Yes.
So when you are directing, and I don't know enough about you as a director, how you work in that room with these people, how much are you giving them, as the title implies, direction, and how much are you trying to make them discover where they're going on their own?
I hope that it's the latter, because I think in order for performances to be true, they really have to come from the actors. So I always want to see first what an actor's instinct is.
Right.
So in some ways, I think of myself as an editor more than a director. Show me what it is you want to do, and I will talk about how that fits in really to the storytelling and the shaping of the material, because otherwise you get robotic performances rather than human performances.
Yeah. Let me ask E. Clayton a question then. So you know of the time period this character is in, and you know there were other performers that were similar in some aspects at different points of Jimmy's career.
Yeah.
Did you go back and look at old performers? Were there people you looked at to see how they did things?
Well, yeah, I think it's our job as actors to go back and take a look at the decade and to really soak in exactly what was going on. I sort of had a privilege of doing a lot of period pieces, doo-wop musicals and that type of thing. Like Beautiful, the Carole King musical, I was a part of the original cast. And I'm also doing a Temptations musical coming up. And so it wasn't hard, I guess, to kind of go back and grab some of the stuff that I've always been, learning about through either my parents or getting some knowledge of my own on YouTube, as they do these days. You got a question? Facebook Live, anybody got questions?
So, Sheldon, do you encourage them to go and look at, I mean, especially with the role of Effie, so you can go on there and you can find Jennifer Holliday singing I'm Not Going all day long from people who shot videos and from the Tony Awards. Do you want your cast to look at other people performing the role, or do you want them to stay away from that?
In fact, I encourage the opposite. I say, please don't go and look at anybody else's video. Don't even listen to the other recordings, because again, I wanted to emerge honestly from these people, and from the situation and the story. So by no means do I want anybody to be doing.
I was just talking about that actually to a person. I refuse to look at anybody else's version, because I just want it to be mine, and as soon as you start looking at other people, you kind of start trying to emulate that same type of intention. There was a couple of Dreamgirls, like the tours or whatever back in the day. I took a good look just to see like a little bit of like how it goes. Then I had to turn it off. I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Yeah. So yeah, because I think I bring a more of a comic flavor. You think?
Yes, you do. But I think also. No, but I think also you're also very moving as Jimmy. Your final moments are really rather tragic, because we know the guy's going to disappear any minute now. Yeah, no, I'm very moved by what you do.
Thomas, did you go back and look at any of biographies of musical, because you're playing more the executive role, then you're not going to find as many clips of these people performing, but you go back and read the stories, understand who they are.
Well, yeah, I grew up on Motown. My parents love it. It's still my favorite music. I didn't learn contemporary music until I had my own car, because I just wasn't allowed to listen to it. But also, I maybe 10, 11 years ago had the good fortune of doing the first workshop of what became Motown the musical. So I got to spend 8 days with Berry Gordy, and got to sort of watch him and watch how his mind worked, and it was really interesting. It was really interesting, and like what it means to have that level of power. That he never spoke directly to anyone. He would whisper to his assistant, and she would whisper to someone else, and then she would whisper to someone else, and then the director would be like, "Really? Okay, you're no longer Diana Ross. Sorry." It was just this very and then also I was around the actual production of Motown a lot, and he was there.
Yeah.
So just sort
You
of
had
like
a sense of that type of person.
yeah, and also just honestly, just being honest, when I saw Motown the musical, I thought, wow, what a love letter to himself that he wrote, but also that like. The idea that in his mind, everything he did was just, everything he did was right, everything he did had a purpose, and that to this day, the only wrong that was done was everyone who left him.
Yeah.
That he made them...
Kind of like my dating life.
Exactly. But like he made them what they were, and they all left. And that's the thing that still upsets him. He doesn't understand why they left. He just knows that he did great things for them, and everybody left him.
Well, the good news is Dreamgirls doesn't leave us for another week and a half or so. So it's going to be here through next Sunday at the Hobby Center. These gentlemen are going to be doing their parts. This guy has really done his part already, getting it up on its feet. Now it's your turn. Your part is to come and see the show. Support the arts here in Houston. What did you say?
Yes. He said, please come.
Please come. It's a great night at the theater. Now I'm going to let you guys enjoy your party. We're going to be back in maybe 10 minutes or so, and I think we're going to have 3 other guests here that you're not going to want to miss. But we're still coming to you live. Remember, you can send your questions in. Walt will be monitoring the whole time.
Poor Walt.
So, you need a microphone.
I come and take off my pants. You have to come see that. What's underneath? You'll never know unless
it
you come.
takes a desperate man to drop his pants in showbiz. Thank you guys very much. I think it's a great show. We'll be back shortly.